Everybody's been talking about tariffs recently, including me as somebody who has been paying a lot of tariffs. And I've talked to many friends who are successful business owners, and I have been shocked by how little they know about tariffs, how high tariffs are, who actually pays the tariffs. And I thought, man, if a business owner doesn't know how tariffs work, the average person would have no reason to know how tariffs work. I'm certainly no expert, but I have paid a lot of tariffs, and I thought it would be interesting to make a quick video and kind of explain how the entire process works. Now, I've brought a few products to market. The big one for F-Stoppers was the F-Stoppers flash disc a few years ago. Currently, I own the hot sauce brand Olivium. And with all of my products, I have always first tried to have them manufactured in the United States, and it has always failed miserably. Now, the very first thing I want to put out there is who pays tariffs? Trump has been saying for years now that it is foreign countries who pay for tariffs.
Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
That is not true at all. When I import goods from China, the second it reaches the port, it is held until I personally pay the tariff. It is shocking to me how few people know that, but I promise you, China is not paying the tariff, I'm paying the tariff. Now, for people who understand who pays the tariffs but are still pro-tariff, they have two main arguments. Number one, they say when you import the goods, there's going to be this tariff. It's going to raise the price of the goods. Therefore, American companies are going to be able to compete. And at a certain point, it will actually be cheaper to have your goods manufactured in the United States versus China. And the second argument is Trump doesn't actually want tariffs. He's playing 4D chess, and he's using this as a bargaining chip to get better trade deals. I'm gonna talk about both of these theories, but let's first start with the idea that tariffs are a good idea and they're gonna bring manufacturing back to America. Each time I've wanted to bring a product to market, I absolutely looked into having that product manufactured in the United States. It is so difficult and risky to have your product made overseas. If I could have it made in the United States, I would be happy to pay a premium to actually go and see it and touch it and make sure that it's right before I order tens of thousands of units. The problem is that in many cases, the factories to build these products simply do not exist in the United States. If they do exist, the prices compared to China are astronomical. Now you might be saying, aha, Ali, if we add a high enough tariff, then the prices would be the same, and then you would choose US manufacturing. The issue is the prices aren't even close to the same. I'll give you some very specific examples here. For my big bottle of hot sauce, I had a prototype made in China, and then I went to a factory in the United States that specializes in this sort of thing. And I said, how much would it cost to make this exact box? I would prefer to buy it from an American company. It was 800% more. 800% more. Now, this is the box for my smaller bottle of hot sauce. I was never able to find any factory capable of making this in the United States at all, so I was never able to get a quote. It comes in a custom bottle that I have made in a factory in China that specializes in perfume bottles. And I just did a bunch of work trying to find a factory in the United States capable of replicating this bottle. I could not find a single factory. I did, however, find a factory in Mexico that has an office in the United States, and I thought, perfect, I'm gonna get a quote to make these bottles at least a little closer to home. To have a custom mold for this bottle made in China, it cost me $500. To have a custom mold made in Mexico cost $25,000. And keep in mind, this is still not American made. This is still foreign made. Now, the lid on this bottle is 3 different parts. It's plastic on the inside, it's real wood on the outside, and then engraved metal on the top. Once again, I tried to find factories in the United States capable of making this. I wasn't able to find anything. Another part of this that I have tried so hard to get manufactured in the United States is the label, just the sticker. But the prices that I was being quoted by printers in the US are outrageous. They wanted $7,000 to build the plates, and then they wanted $2 per label to print this little bitty label. $2 per label. In China, there's no setup fee at all. The cheaper labels are 5 cents a label, and the ultra high quality label that I wanted, 25 cents. Once again, 800% more expensive to have it made in the United States. So again, I'll say I would love to manufacture all of my products in the United States, but the prices simply do not make sense. And that's why almost every single thing that we buy has been manufactured in another country in full or at least in part, like this. The sauce is made and bottled in Florida. So you can probably see why a 50% or even a 200 or 300% tariff would still not make me or almost any other business move to American manufacturing for these sort of products, because it still doesn't make sense financially. Now, I know many people believe that this will inspire new factories to open up in the United States, and over time we will become more competitive when it comes to manufacturing strange items like hot sauce bottles. But I just ask people to imagine that you have $100 million to build a custom glass bottle factory. How long do you think it will take to open that factory? Are these tariffs permanent, or is this just a bargaining chip and they're gonna go away tomorrow or next year? Let's say this president does want them to be permanent. By the time you open up your factory, won't we have a new president, and won't they just get rid of the tariffs? And just to quickly touch on the second argument that people make, that it's not really about the tariffs, we're just using it as a bargaining chip so that we can get better trade deals or whatever. That's probably true to an extent, but I will point out that Trump did put tariffs on Chinese goods in his first term, and Biden actually didn't remove them. So we have had some tariffs on some goods. Now, those tariffs were targeted, and I don't think that they went towards finished goods. But for me, who's just having empty bottles made in China, I have been paying those old tariffs. And a few weeks ago, I got a call from my importer. My next order that's coming from China has a $15,000 tariff bill attached to it. But that was the tariffs from 2020, plus tariffs Trump made a few weeks ago. And that's not including the new tariffs that he made 2 days ago. And nobody knows how to calculate those yet, including importers. They are like freaking out because they have absolutely no idea what's going on. I'm gonna cut this video here because I am far from an expert. I am just some guy who pays tariffs, and I thought it would be interesting to make a video and give you guys kind of an inside scoop on what's going on, because this is far more complicated than what some people would have you believe.
Tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries that, again, have been ripping us off. Tariffs are a tax cut for the American people.
Sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have. They don't get charged on foreign companies, they get charged on the importers.